thing if we could get it involved. The other thing has to do with spending. Quite frankly, is spending is that you spend too much time there, you forget that it's not your money, and then you start acting like it's your money. And so that's the second part of this that is cutting that spending and remembering whose money it is that you're actually supposed to be using correctly.
Absolutely. You touched on spending money, and I can't think of, when I think about Paul Ryan in the past year, I can't think of a bigger failure of, where money continually gets spent and we're seeing less and less return than when it comes to the cost of medical care, Medicare, the failure to repeal Obamacare, and replace it with a viable replacement. Do you have any opinion on the job Paul Ryan did, or in my opinion, it's his lack of leadership to be able to get that done last year, despite having a Republican president and a Republican Senate and a Republican House to get it done? What's your opinion on Speaker Ryan's job when it came to the healthcare debate?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's one of the frustrations that we felt like we couldn't accomplish because we held all the different levels of power there, and the healthcare, removing that very poor Affordable Care Act, falls at the leadership, both at the Congress, like you said, with the Speaker, and then at the Senate. Because the thing is, everything that comes out, anything that gets to the floor of the House or the Senate comes out of leadership's office. And so if they're not getting things done, it falls at their feet. Particularly with that omnibus bill. I mean, you had a $1.3 trillion spending bill under a Republican-controlled House. Remember, then in 2015, we had that $1.1 trillion spending bill under a Republican-controlled House. And that both is under Speaker Ryan's leadership.
And, I should say to everybody, we're talking to Nick Polce right now, who's running as a primary challenger to Paul Ryan in the 1st District of Wisconsin. Check out nickpolceforcongress.com, and all these positions that we're talking about right now, you can find on his webpage in black and white. We're talking with someone with a lot of integrity here, folks. Special Forces, U.S. Army, businessman, real estate investor. He knows from whence he speaks when he talks about a lot of different topics here. I'm actually very impressed with your website, Nick, that you have everything here in black and white. It's definitely a departure from the murky doublespeak of Washington politics.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that frustrated me listening in over the past 10, 15 years, as much as we've been paying attention at the national level and local level to different races, is that you can never get a straight answer. And we just want to say, look, this is the thing, here's our principles, here's what we believe in, here's why we run it. And then we want to have a discussion on that. And if we do consistent Periscopes and consistent Facebook Live videos where we have question and answer, where we speak about policy, because we want to let people know where we stand so they know what they're getting prior to us going to office.
And that's really beneficial to have. Let's talk a little current events, Nick, because obviously what's dominated the news the past couple of weeks has been I don't want to call it a discussion of the Second Amendment, but I want to say the Second Amendment has been under siege. And, the news tool of the left has been those victims of the Parkland shooting who I'm sure are well-meaning, but are not really knowing from whence they speak, and they don't really have the grown-up experience to discuss the topic. Now, you're someone that has used firearms as a tool in the Army, and I'm sure have a deep respect for them. What is your opinion about what's going on right now in this current events climate when it comes to the Second Amendment under attack?
Yeah, my heart, and look, I'm a dad, and if I sent my son, he's 16 months, and I can't imagine what it would be like to send my son to school and him not to come home because he was involved with some monsters activity. So it just breaks my heart. And with that understanding, though, the Second Amendment is very clear, and the founders recognized that weapons in the hands of a few lead to oppression of the many, and that's why they created that Second Amendment with that historical understanding. So we really need to focus on violence. And what is it, and why is it that there's violence in that specific time, and how do we stop that? And so you're right, the people that are the kids that are out there running around and doing these protests and attempting to raise awareness, I believe I'll have the best intentions, and they want to stop that violence as well. What's missing in those discussions, though, is when you don't have weapons and you have somebody walking into a situation that has a weapon, there's no way to defend yourself. And there's no way, and you have to fix that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's also been a failing of education on, basic civics. I'm about to turn 40 this year, and, high school's looking further in the rearview mirror than it used to be. But I remember having an American history professor and a teacher, and, I was able to understand civics at a younger age. I don't see that in the education systems anymore. And I think that's contributed to, a lot of these kids misunderstanding what socialism is and why we have a Second Amendment and all these things. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. We're losing our study of history. One of the things that Americans, we kind of have a stereotype where we think history starts the day we were born. And if we don't understand previous history and where we came from and how we got here and the lessons from history, then we're not able to go forward and put correct solutions in place. You're absolutely right on that education front.
Well, listen, it feels like we have really run the gamut here so far in this interview, but the real thing we have to get to is information about your race. Well, one thing we say on the show whenever we talk to somebody, and, we're one of the few shows out there that's actually friendly to people who want to challenge in primaries. We believe, Russell and I on the show, we believe primaries are a good thing. They strengthen the party as a whole. Iron sharpens iron. And, we're glad to see that there's somebody out there that's going to hold Speaker Ryan's feet to the fire. But we also know that money and people are what make the campaigns go around. And we want to make sure that you get as much of both as possible. So if people are listening in the area and they want to volunteer, or if they want to contribute, how do they get a hold of you?
So there's a couple different ways. First is our website, which is nickpolceforcongress.com. That's P as in Peter, OLCE, nickpolceforcongress.com. Now our Facebook page, Nick Polce for Congress. And then on Twitter as well, it's Nick for House, WI01. And so you can contact the campaign on any of those channels. Volunteer. If you want to donate, please. We need all the help we can get. We're only going to win with support here in the district and across the nation that believe in our vision.
And how far away is the primary up in Wisconsin?
So we are, August 14th is the primary, so we've got about 5 months left. So we kicked off the campaign in November 17th, and we're about the halfway point right now. And
I got to understand that the response so far has got to be encouraging, I got to think. Speaker Ryan can't exactly be the most popular person right now, even in his home district.
Yes, we've really started to build momentum, especially since this omnibus bill passed. It's bad for the country. It's been beneficial for our campaign. We're getting a lot of interest. We're getting a lot of donations coming in, so it's really starting to pick up now.
Like I said, folks, we iron sharpens iron, and it's good to have a real challenge out there, a real option. And we're talking, again, Nick Polce, I said it before, he's a father, he's a husband, businessman, Army Green Beret combat veteran. He brings a unique perspective, and the man answered questions on our show directly and to the point. I'm very happy to hear that. And listen, Nick, I wish you the best of luck, and keep at it, man. You picked a steep hill, and can't wait to see how you do climbing it. Good luck to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Gene. It's worth the climb.
Hey, folks, I just want to let you know about a great opportunity for listeners of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you go to our website, www.behindenemylinesradio.us, and click on the same box ad on the right side of the page, you will get a great opportunity for a discounted offer to join SaneBox. SaneBox filters out all the unimportant email from your inbox so that you can really focus on what matters. If you're anything like me, folks, you get hundreds of pieces of email a day, not many of which is important. SaneBox's smart filter will get everything you need to fly through your inbox and finally make email work for you. It gets rid of spam emails, it deprioritizes emails that aren't as important to you, and it helps you unsubscribe from mailing lists and individual senders with ease. So again, go to www.behindenemylinesradio.us and you click on the SaneBox ad and you'll be given an exclusive offer you won't find anywhere else. Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. I want to thank Nick Polce for coming on the show. We've certainly learned a lot about him and what he stands for. Being informed, like I said before in the previous segment, folks, not being just a spectator. This isn't a spectator sport politics. You need to know the players on the field and who they are in order to make the informed decisions you'll need for your own life. So, thanks to Nick Polce for coming on the show and being a straight shooter, man. Check out nickpolceforcongress.com to find out more about him. I went through the website, and there is a ton of information about this guy. Anything you want to know and more, it's very transparent. It's almost too transparent for a politician. You kind of wonder what's really going on there. But as you heard, Nick is a genuine guy. He even educated me on Paul Ryan. I thought that he came in the Tea Party wave. He was actually there 10 years before. So, shame on me and good on Nick for educating me on that and for just being a great interview, a great sport. I pulled no punches, and he took the punches well. He rolled with them, man. It was a great job. Great job by him. Looking forward to seeing what happens in that race, see if he can make a dent, and to see if he really does have the pulse of his community. See what I did there? I know. I cringed too. But Nick Polce is part of a trend that we're starting to see in conservative politics. I mean, I've seen it on the show. You've heard it on the show, not only with Nick, but with Sharon Angle a couple of weeks ago. But we're seeing a lot of Republican primaries developing against people that some consider rhinos, some don't consider rhinos. Let's examine the trend right now and see exactly what's going on here. In the case of Nick Polce, we're seeing an upstart candidate, someone with no political experience, trying to take on the establishment. And I think we're seeing that going forward kind of being the Trump effect. President Trump, political rookie, as it were, when it came to election politics at least. He knew the game. He was probably the ultimate political neophyte when it came to running a campaign. And what we're seeing is that was resonating with voters. We saw the Trump effect in voting being that he's an outsider. He's not part of the Washington elite. And he's passionate, and he has issues, and these issues resonate with me. So it seems like we saw that coming from Nick Polce a little bit. For all we know, folks, there may be other primaries out there. Oh, wait. Yeah, there is. There's one here in the People's Republic of New York. I know, it's hard to believe. A congressional Republican primary in New York City. I mean, it's Staten Island. It's the forgotten borough of New York City. But it's still New York City. And, of course, we're talking about Dan Donovan being challenged in a primary by former congressman and former convict. Well, I guess former convict, current convict. He is a convict. Michael Grimm. Excuse me there. So Michael Grimm has decided to come back for his own seat after serving some time in the pokey. And he is portraying himself as the political outsider again. Now, this worked for him when he first won against Mike McMahon. Back when I was involved in politics in Brooklyn. I think it was back in 2010 during that Republican wave after President Obama was elected. Sound familiar, folks? We're kind of seeing the opposite now in 2018. So, there's going to be a lot of appears to be battleground primaries as I'm going through the web right now. You're going to have one in Alabama, possibly a couple in Arizona. I know Kelly Ward is going to be running for something against someone there. Colorado and Florida is going to have, Indiana, Kansas. They're all over the map. It's very interesting to see what may happen here. Again, these are not confirmed because people are still trying to make the ballot and seeing what's going on. But what's driving this internal conflict with the GOP, where the fights are happening? It's the same old story that we've seen with the GOP of the power of the establishment versus a restless base. This base of, disruptors and people who have, some well-heeled donors that are upset with the current balance of power. It's that same old story again. We're going to see it all over the place. Mitch McConnell, I'm sure, is going to have his own challenge once again. Like I said, we see it in Arizona with Kelly Ward. We see it in Nevada with Sharon Angle. We see it in New York with Michael Grimm. We see it in Wisconsin with Nick Polce. It's that same old story and that